Have you ever wondered why some people spend their entire lives working hard, struggling with bills, and drowning in debt, while others seem to build wealth effortlessly, even while they sleep? It's not just about income. It's not just about how hard you work. The real secret? It's understanding how money works, especially debt. You see, for most people, debt is scary. It's something to avoid, something that causes stress, anxiety, and financial ruin. But for the rich, debt is a weapon, a strategy, a tool they use to unlock opportunities and build empires. It's not because they have more money to begin with. It's because they know how to use debt the right way. And today, you're going to learn how to think like they do. So if you've ever felt trapped financially, if you're tired of working hard but getting nowhere, this video might just change the way you see money forever. Let's dive in. First, we talk how the poor versus the rich use debt. Most people see debt as something scary, something to avoid. And that's because, for many people, debt has been painful. They've borrowed money for things they couldn't afford and then struggled to pay it back. So yeah, it makes sense why people are afraid of debt. But here's the truth that most of us were never taught. Debt isn't always bad. In fact, when used the right way, debt can actually make you rich. Let me explain. Most people use debt in a way that makes them poorer. They borrow money to buy things like cars, new phones, fancy clothes, even vacations. And while these things feel good at the moment, they all have one thing in common. They lose value over time. That car, it's worth less the moment you drive it home. That new phone, in a year or two, it's outdated. And the vacation? It's a memory, but the credit card bill is still real. And here's the worst part. Most of these purchases come with interest. That means you're not just paying for the item. You're paying extra every month just to borrow the money. That kind of debt is called bad debt. It takes money out of your pocket and gives you nothing back in return. Now let's look at how the rich use debt. They also borrow money, but for a completely different reason. Instead of borrowing to buy things that lose value, they borrow to buy assets, things that go up in value or make money over time. Let me give you a few examples. They might use a loan to buy a rental property that brings in monthly rent, or borrow to invest in a business that generates profits, or even use margin loans to buy stocks that grow and pay dividends. These are smart moves because the debt is tied to something that makes money. That's what we call good debt. Let's break it down even more simply. Bad debt takes money out of your pocket. A good debt puts money into your pocket. Most people use debt to look rich. They want to impress others, so they buy shiny things with borrowed money. The rich, they use debt to get rich. They don't care about showing off. They care about building income, assets, and long-term wealth. Here's a real-life scenario. Let's say someone borrows money to buy a car. The car loses value, and they make payments every month, but it doesn't bring in any money. They're just spending. Now let's say someone else borrows the same amount, but instead uses it as a down payment on a small rental apartment. They rent it out, and the rent covers the loan payments. They're building equity, the property value grows, and they get income every month. Same amount of debt, completely different outcome. So here's the key takeaway. Debt is not the enemy. Ignorance about debt is. If you don't understand how debt works, it can trap you. But if you do understand it, you can use it to build a future that gives you freedom. That's what the rich do. They don't avoid debt. They study it. They learn how to use it. And they use it to build wealth, step by step. So next time you think about borrowing money, ask yourself, is this going to make me money? Or is it just going to cost me more in the long run? That one question could change your financial future. Second, good debt versus bad debt. Now, when people hear the word debt, they usually think it's something bad. And yeah, it can be bad, but not always. There are actually two types of debt, bad debt and good debt. Knowing the difference can seriously change your life. First, let's talk about bad debt. This is the kind of debt that takes money out of your pocket. For example, when you use your credit card to buy clothes, new gadgets, or take a vacation, but you can't pay it off right away. You end up paying extra money in interest. So that $100 item might end up costing you $120 or more. And worse, those things lose value over time. That's bad debt. It makes you poorer. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Good debt. Good debt is when you borrow money to make more money. Let's say you borrow money to buy a small house. You rent it out, and the rent covers the loan payments. You're using that debt to make monthly income. That's good debt. It's helping you build wealth. Or maybe you borrow to start a small business. Your business makes money, and you use the profit to pay off the loan. That's smart debt. Even a student loan can be good debt if it helps you get a better job or higher income later. Here's the simple rule. Bad debt takes money away from you. A good debt helps you earn more money. The rich understand this. They don't avoid debt completely. They just use it the smart way. They borrow to invest in things that make money, like real estate, businesses, or stocks. So next time you think about borrowing money, ask yourself, is this going to make me richer or poorer? Because debt isn't always bad. If you learn to use it right, it can help you grow your income and build real wealth. Third, the tax advantage. Let me tell you one of the smartest strategies the rich use to grow their wealth, without selling anything and without paying taxes. Yes, you heard that right. They can get access to millions in cash without giving up their investments and without paying a single cent in taxes. So how do they do it? Let's start with what most people usually do. When regular people need money, they sell something valuable. Maybe they sell stocks. Maybe they sell a house or a piece of land. And sure, selling gives you cash. But there's a big downside that most people forget. You have to pay taxes. Let's say you bought an investment years ago for $100,000, and now it's worth $200,000. If you sell it, that $100,000 profit is called a capital gain. And guess what? The government takes a cut of that. Depending on where you live, you could lose 20%, 30%, or even more just in taxes. So even though it feels like you made money, a big chunk of it disappears the moment you sell. Now here's what the rich do instead. They don't sell their assets. They borrow against them. Let's break it down with a simple example. Imagine a wealthy person owns a house worth $1 million. Instead of selling the house to get cash, they go to a bank and say, I'd like to borrow $500,000. I'll use this house as collateral. The bank says yes, because the house is valuable and can back up the loan. So now they walk away with $500,000 in cash without selling the house. Now, why is this such a smart move? Because a loan is not considered income. That means they don't pay any tax on that money. Zero. Nothing. No capital gains. No income tax. Just clean cash in their hands. And here's the best part. They still own the asset. So if the house goes up in value, they benefit. If it's a rental property, it still brings in rental income every month. If it's a stock, it might still grow or pay dividends. So what's really happening? White heavy checkmark, they keep their investment. White heavy checkmark, they avoid paying taxes. White heavy checkmark, they get access to money when they need it. White heavy checkmark, and their wealth keeps growing quietly in the background. It's a win-win on every side. This strategy isn't just about real estate. The same idea works with stocks, businesses, or anything that has real value. This is how the rich are able to live off their wealth without ever needing to sell it. They can buy more properties, start new businesses, invest in new ideas, all using money from loans backed by the assets they already own. This is why their wealth grows so fast. They're not starting over each time. They're building on top of what they already have, stacking assets on assets, year after year. Of course, this strategy only works if you're responsible. Borrowing too much or too fast can be risky. But used wisely, this is one of the most powerful tools for building real, long-term wealth. And here's the truth. The rich don't necessarily work harder. They just understand how to use the financial system to their advantage. They know how to protect their money, grow their money, and use smart debt to move faster than everyone else. Now you know their secret. Next, number 4, leverage and building wealth. Let's talk about one of the most powerful tools the rich use to grow their wealth faster than everyone else, leverage. Now, don't let the word scare you. Leverage simply means using other people's money to grow your own. Here's a super simple example. Let's say you want to buy a house that costs $300,000. You don't need to pay the full amount up front. Instead, you put down $60,000, just 20%. The bank covers the rest with a mortgage. That's debt, but smart debt. Now fast forward a few years. The value of that house goes up. It's now worth, say, $100,000. That $100,000 difference? That's called equity. And that equity is like hidden money sitting in your property. Now here's the genius part. Instead of selling the house, you go back to the bank and say, I've got equity in this property. I want to borrow against it. And the bank says, sure. Why? Because the house is still there as collateral. Boom. You now have access to tens of thousands of dollars without selling anything. And what do you do with that cash? You use it to buy another property. Then, a few years later, that second property grows in value too. You borrow against that one and buy a third. See where this is going? This is how the rich scale up. They don't wait 20 or 30 years to save and buy one property at a time. They use leverage to buy more assets, faster and smarter. And it doesn't stop at real estate. This exact strategy works with businesses too. Imagine using a loan to buy a small business that generates steady income. That income pays off the loan and builds your wealth. Some even use it with stocks, like borrowing against their portfolio to invest in new opportunities. The idea is simple. Use debt to buy assets that make money. Then use those assets to buy even more. That's the power of leverage. But here's the key. Leverage is not free money. If you borrow too much or don't plan properly, it can hurt you. That's why the rich don't just use leverage, they manage risk. They learn the game before they play big. But when done right, leverage is like hitting the fast-forward button on your wealth. It's how regular people turn one property into 2, then 4, then 10, without having to start over each time. It's not about luck. It's not magic. It's strategy. And this is one of the biggest reasons why the rich keep getting richer, not by working harder, but by using smarter tools like leverage. Number 5. Focus on cash flow, not just net worth. Here's another big mindset shift that separates the rich from everyone else. The rich don't just focus on net worth. They focus on cash flow. Most people think being rich means having a big number on paper, like owning a house worth $1 million or having a huge retirement fund. But here's the truth. Net worth means nothing if you don't have cash coming in every month. You can have a high net worth and still be broke if all your money is tied up in things you can't spend, like a house you live in or a retirement account you can't touch yet. The rich understand this. That's why they care more about cash flow, the money that flows into their bank account regularly, month after month. And how do they create that cash flow? They use debt to buy assets that generate passive income. For example, rental properties that bring in rent every month. Dividend-paying stocks that give them payouts just for owning shares. Businesses that earn profits, even when they're not involved day-to-day. This is money that comes in without trading time for it. It's income that continues while they travel, sleep, or spend time with family. And over time, that passive income covers their expenses. Eventually, it replaces their job income completely. That's when they achieve true financial freedom. So while most people are stuck working harder for every dollar, the rich build systems that pay them continuously. It's not about how rich you look on paper. It's about how much income your money can generate for you every single month. That's how the rich stay rich and why they never stop getting richer. Here's the truth about debt. It's just a tool. Like fire or electricity, it's not good or bad on its own. If you don't understand how to use it, it can absolutely hurt you. It can trap you in a cycle of payments, stress, and financial struggle. But if you learn how to use it wisely, like the rich do, debt becomes a powerful engine that can help you build wealth, generate income, and create freedom. The rich don't get ahead by working harder than everyone else. They get ahead by thinking differently. They understand the rules of the game, and they use those rules to their advantage. So instead of running from debt or fearing it, learn how to control it. Use it to buy assets, not liabilities. Use it to create cash flow, not just expenses. And most importantly, use it to build a life that gives you options, not one that keeps you stuck. If you want to build wealth like the rich, it starts with financial knowledge. And learning how to use debt the right way is one of the most important steps. So if this video gave you value, help us reach more people by hitting that like button. And if you're serious about growing your money and mastering your mindset, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because we've got more videos coming to help you think smarter, build faster, and live freer. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't fear debt. Learn it, master it, use it,